Have you ever observed someone navigate complex social dynamics with an almost unnerving calm, seemingly unaffected by the opinions or actions of others? This isn't mere arrogance. It might be an expression of strategic contempt, a concept deeply rooted in Machiavellian thought. We will explore this potent idea not as a tool for malevolence, but as a lens to understand power, human nature, and the subtle art of emotional control. The relevance of understanding strategic contempt extends beyond historical texts, directly impacting your interactions in contemporary society. In a world saturated with opinions and fleeting judgments, grasping how calculated indifference operates can illuminate hidden psychological power structures. It offers a framework to analyze situations where perceived weaknesses are exploited or ignored, providing crucial insights into modern social and professional landscapes. This video will delve into what strategic contempt truly entails, differentiating it from everyday disdain. We will break down its underlying principles, examining how a Machiavellian mindset might leverage such a perspective. Our goal is to equip you with a nuanced understanding of this psychological phenomenon, allowing you to recognize its manifestations and navigate them with greater awareness. My background in psychological power dynamics and historical philosophy informs this exploration, offering a perspective grounded in research and critical analysis. While these concepts originate from a challenging era, applying them ethically involves dissecting their mechanics. This isn't about advocating for ruthlessness, but rather understanding the subtle forces that shape influence and control. To truly grasp strategic contempt, we must first lay a solid foundation, exploring the historical context and core philosophy of Niccolò Machiavelli himself. Understanding the environment that shaped his thinking is essential to deciphering his principles, including those that touch upon human weakness and the calculated use of detachment in leadership and personal strategy. Niccolò Machiavelli, an astute observer of 16th century Italian politics, authored The Prince, not as a guide for tyranny, but as a pragmatic manual for rulers struggling to maintain power amidst constant upheaval. His world was one of ruthless competition, where states rose and fell with terrifying swiftness. To ignore this brutal reality, he argued, was to invite ruin, making his insights critical for survival in a volatile political climate. At the heart of Machiavelli's philosophy lies a stark realism about human nature. He posited that people are generally self-interested, fickle, and ungrateful. A ruler, therefore, could not rely on altruism or moral rectitude, but rather on a clear-eyed assessment of how people truly behave. This pessimistic yet empirically driven view became the bedrock for his advice on governance and the acquisition of psychological power. Machiavelli's perspectives often diverge sharply from conventional morality, presenting a challenging ethical landscape. Some interpret him as advocating amoral tactics, while others see him as a realist, simply describing what works in the real politic of power. Regardless, his emphasis on efficacy over idealism offers a valuable, albeit controversial, viewpoint on human behavior and the exercise of influence. To better understand this, consider a general defending a city. Machiavelli would argue that ensuring the loyalty of soldiers through fear, if love proves insufficient, is a pragmatic necessity for the greater good of the state's survival. This isn't cruelty for its own sake, but a cold calculation aimed at achieving a critical objective. It's a stark, almost stoic approach to leadership. This historical and philosophical context is vital because it frames how contempt could evolve into a strategic tool. Machiavelli's understanding of human fallibility directly informs how a leader might strategically view and interact with both allies and adversaries, moving beyond simple disdain to a calculated form of detachment, which we will explore further. Strategic contempt is not merely personal dislike or arrogant dismissal. It is a calculated, dispassionate assessment of an individual's or group's capabilities, limitations, and motivations, often viewing them as inconsequential or predictably flawed within a larger scheme. It is an intellectual posture, a form of emotional control, rather than an outburst of emotion. This Machiavellian mindset involves minimizing the perceived threat or importance of others, allowing for unhindered decision-making. Unlike simple disdain, which often stems from ego or a sense of superiority, strategic contempt is primarily functional. It serves to neutralize potential emotional interference and maintain psychological power. When you operate from a place of strategic contempt, you are not necessarily judging someone's moral worth, but rather evaluating their utility or predictability within your strategic framework, much like a general assesses enemy forces. This concept encourages a detached perspective, where personal feelings are sidelined to observe and react purely based on objective analysis. It is about understanding vulnerabilities without necessarily exploiting them maliciously, but rather recognizing them as factors in the broader human equation. This detachment is a cornerstone of dark psychology, where understanding and predicting behavior is key. Imagine a chess player who regards their opponent's less optimal moves with strategic contempt, not personal anger. They acknowledge the move, but don't overreact, understanding it as part of a predictable pattern or a less effective strategy. This enables them to focus on their own game, maintaining a clear head and emotional control, rather than being drawn into the opponent's emotional state or blunders. By understanding this fundamental distinction, we can begin to unpack the specific principles that enable one to cultivate and wield strategic contempt effectively. It moves us from theoretical understanding to practical application, revealing how this perspective can be translated into observable behaviors and thought processes that influence outcomes. The first principle of strategic contempt involves a relentless and objective observation of human flaws and predictable behaviors. This isn't about cynicism, but about empirical data gathering. You focus on identifying patterns of weakness, irrationality, and self-interest in others, understanding that these are inherent aspects of human nature, not personal failings to be judged emotionally. It forms the basis of a pragmatic, Machiavellian mindset. This observation is stripped of moral judgment. Instead, it is an exercise in psychological power, analyzing how fear, greed, vanity, and insecurity drive individuals. You learn to recognize recurring inconsistencies between what people say and what they do, and how external pressures often dictate their actions, regardless of their stated intentions. This creates a powerful predictive capability. By meticulously cataloging these observations, you build an internal database of human predictability. For instance, you might notice how certain individuals always seek validation, or how others avoid confrontation at all costs. These are not flaws to be condemned, but variables to be understood in the grand equation of human interaction, providing deep insights into dark psychology. Consider a leader studying various factions. They wouldn't waste energy being surprised by shifting loyalties or self-serving alliances. Instead, they anticipate these behaviors, understanding them as natural outcomes of human ambition and fear. This detached observation allows for proactive planning rather than reactive emotional responses, maintaining superior emotional control. This foundational practice of dispassionate observation paves the way for the next crucial principle: developing the emotional detachment necessary to process these insights without becoming entangled in the emotional drama of others. It's about building a mental fortress against sentiment, ensuring your strategic mind remains unclouded. Building upon objective observation, the second principle requires cultivating a profound detachment from emotional responses, both your own and those of others. This is a cornerstone of the Machiavellian mindset, drawing parallels with Stoicism. You learn to see emotions as data points rather than directives, understanding their influence on decision-making without allowing them to sway your own judgment or strategy. Emotional detachment is a powerful form of psychological power. It prevents you from being manipulated by appeals to pity, anger, or flattery. When you can observe situations and individuals without personal investment, you gain clarity. This allows you to identify underlying motives, vulnerabilities in others that those caught in emotional tides might miss, providing a strategic advantage. This isn't about becoming emotionless, but about exercising rigorous emotional control. You acknowledge feelings, but you don't let them dictate your actions. When faced with provocation or praise, you maintain an inner equilibrium, analyzing the stimulus rather than reacting impulsively. This discipline is central to any serious study of dark psychology. For example, when confronted with an emotional outburst, instead of becoming defensive or angry, you analyze the outburst itself. What is the true source of this person's frustration? What are they trying to achieve with this display? This allows you to respond strategically rather than being dragged into an unproductive emotional exchange, thus maintaining your composure. Mastering emotional detachment is a critical step towards employing strategic contempt effectively. It is the bridge between merely observing human flaws and actually leveraging that knowledge to maintain composure and influence outcomes. This leads us directly to the concept of calculated indifference, a practical manifestation of this very detachment. Calculated indifference is the outward manifestation of emotional detachment, the third principle of strategic contempt. It involves deliberately displaying a lack of strong emotional reaction, especially to provocations or attempts to garner your attention or sympathy. This isn't genuine apathy, but a strategic choice to project unconcern, denying others the emotional leverage they might seek. By practicing calculated indifference, you effectively deny others the satisfaction of eliciting a desired response. When someone seeks to upset you, flatter you, or even impress you, your consistent, measured lack of overt reaction can be disarming. It prevents them from gaining insight into your true thoughts or feelings, maintaining your psychological power and an enigmatic presence. This principle is vital for maintaining a Machiavellian mindset and protecting your internal landscape. In an age where emotional displays are often expected, a calm, unwavering demeanor can be interpreted as strength and self-possession. It signals that you are not easily swayed, making it harder for others to predict or control your reactions. This aligns with core tenets of Stoicism. Imagine a negotiation. If one party tries to irritate or rush the other, a display of calculated indifference can neutralize these tactics. By remaining composed and showing no signs of frustration or urgency, you force the other party to reveal more of their hand while keeping yours concealed. This demonstrates superior emotional control. The careful deployment of calculated indifference sets the stage for the next principle, allowing you to subtly project an aura of control and unpredictability. It creates an environment where others might begin to underestimate your true capabilities, a crucial element in exercising strategic influence. The fourth principle, the art of underestimation, flows naturally from calculated indifference. It involves subtly encouraging others to perceive you as less capable, less threatening, or less intelligent than you truly are. This deliberate downplaying of your strengths is a potent form of psychological power, providing an element of surprise and allowing you to operate with less scrutiny. This principle doesn't mean feigning incompetence, but rather avoiding ostentatious displays of talent or ambition that might draw unwanted attention or rivalry. A Machiavellian mindset understands that appearing too formidable can invite opposition. By allowing others to underestimate you, you create space for maneuver, making your eventual actions more impactful and unexpected. The value of being underestimated lies in the advantage it grants in competition. Opponents might allocate fewer resources to counter you, lower their guard, or dismiss your potential. This underestimation can stem from your quiet observation, your calm demeanor, or even a willingness to let others take superficial credit. It's a subtle form of dark psychology. Consider a seemingly quiet new employee who observes company politics without immediately asserting dominance. Colleagues might dismiss them as unengaged. However, this individual is gathering intelligence, building relationships discreetly, and learning the true power structures. When they eventually make a decisive move, it comes as a surprise because they were underestimated. This strategic underestimation then naturally leads to the fifth principle, where you leverage the perceived weaknesses or misjudgments of others. It's about turning their limited perception of you into an advantage, demonstrating how observation and detachment combine for powerful effect. Building on the art of underestimation, the fifth principle focuses on leveraging perceived weaknesses, not just your own, but those you observe in others. This involves identifying how an adversary's emotional responses, cognitive biases, or resource limitations can be subtly used to your strategic advantage. It's a key aspect of understanding psychological power and a critical component of a Machiavellian mindset. This isn't about actively creating weaknesses in others, but recognizing and utilizing the ones that already exist. If you understand that someone is prone to impulsive decisions under pressure, you might create situations that amplify that pressure. If another seeks constant validation, you might withhold it to induce a desired behavior. This requires keen observation and emotional control. Leveraging perceived weakness demands a high degree of ethical self-awareness and careful application. It's crucial to distinguish between understanding human nature for self-defense or strategic navigation and malicious exploitation. The ethical framework here emphasizes awareness of these dynamics so you can protect yourself from them or use them responsibly. For example, in a debate, If you notice an opponent repeatedly get sidetracked by personal grievances, you might subtly introduce triggers related to those grievances. This diverts their focus, allowing you to control the narrative. This isn't about direct attack, but about subtly steering the conversation by understanding their predictable reactions. This touches on dark psychology. Understanding how to leverage perceived weaknesses in others naturally transitions into how one must protect their own reputation while employing such tactics. Your outward image must remain intact, even as your internal strategies operate with cold precision. The sixth principle, the shield of reputation, underscores the paramount importance of maintaining a carefully constructed public image, even while employing strategic contempt internally. Machiavelli famously advised that it is better to be feared than loved, but above all, to avoid hatred. Your reputation acts as a protective layer, deflecting criticism and fostering trust or respect where needed. This principle is about understanding that while your private assessment of others may involve strategic contempt, your public face must align with societal expectations or project desirable qualities. A leader, for instance, might privately view certain allies with calculated indifference, but publicly portray them as valued partners. This duality is central to psychological power. Maintaining a strong reputation built on perceived competence, reliability, or fairness creates a buffer against accusations or challenges. It ensures that when you act, your motives are less likely to be questioned, or, if they are, your established credibility helps weather the storm. This requires consistent emotional control in public interactions. Consider an individual who is known for their integrity and calm demeanor. When they make a difficult decision that impacts others, their established reputation for thoughtful action prevents immediate backlash, even if some disagree. The strategic contempt they hold for emotional chaos allows them to make such decisions without personalizing the inevitable friction. Protecting this shield of reputation is crucial, especially when testing the loyalty of those around you. Your perceived character will influence how others react when put under pressure, making the next principle a natural progression from this one. Following the establishment of a strong reputation, the seventh principle involves the subtle application of strategic contempt to test loyalty. This isn't about overt challenges, but creating situations that reveal true allegiances and intentions without direct confrontation. A Machiavellian mindset understands that declared loyalty can be superficial, and real commitment is shown under duress or perceived disadvantage. By carefully observing reactions to minor setbacks, perceived slights, or changes in your own status, you can discern who remains steadfast. Those operating from genuine commitment will act differently from those motivated purely by self-interest or fear. This use of psychological power provides invaluable insight into your inner circle. This process demands keen observation and emotional control, ensuring that your tests are subtle enough not to be obvious, yet potent enough to provoke authentic responses. It allows you to separate superficial allies from true confidants, which is critical for long-term influence and the avoidance of betrayal, a core theme in dark psychology. For example, a leader might intentionally present a less favorable opportunity to a trusted subordinate, observing their willingness to accept it without complaint, or their genuine efforts to improve the situation regardless. This reveals their commitment beyond mere personal gain, differentiating them from those simply seeking advantage. Understanding who truly stands with you and who is merely opportunistic is essential before you consider any direct displays of power. It's a foundational step that ensures your strength is not wasted on the undeserving, leading to the prudent display of power. The eighth principle, the prudent display of power, is about knowing precisely when and how to reveal your strength rather than constantly flaunting it. After observing human flaws, maintaining emotional detachment, and testing loyalties, you gain the wisdom to deploy your psychological power with maximum impact. This is where strategic contempt for superficial displays of dominance transforms into intelligent action. A Machiavellian mindset recognizes that true power is often quiet and reserved, making its rare displays all the more impactful. Overuse of power can breed resentment or fear without respect. Instead, choose moments where a decisive action, a firm stance, or a clear demonstration of capability will serve a specific strategic purpose, reinforcing your authority without being tyrannical. This principle emphasizes timing and precision rather than brute force. It means understanding that sometimes the threat of power is more potent than its actual execution. Your carefully guarded reputation, combined with a history of thoughtful action, enhances the psychological weight of your influence, making your assertions carry significant gravity. Consider a CEO who rarely intervenes in daily operations but steps in decisively when a critical, high-stakes project is off track. Their intervention, precise and impactful, resolves the issue and reinforces their authority without micromanaging. This display is born from a long-term strategy of observation and emotional control. Having mastered the art of when and how to display your power, you are now prepared to understand how this sustains itself over time, fostering a long game of influence that transcends immediate victories. The ninth principle advocates for the long game of influence, understanding that true psychological power is built and maintained over extended periods, not through fleeting victories. Strategic contempt contributes to this by preventing emotional overreactions to temporary setbacks and by fostering patience. A Machiavellian mindset prioritizes enduring advantage over instant gratification, making every action part of a larger, evolving strategy. This approach requires an almost stoic endurance and a constant recalibration based on observed realities. You don't aim for single triumphs, but for a continuous shaping of the environment and the perceptions of others. Your strategic contempt for short-sighted thinking allows you to focus on the compounding effects of consistent, disciplined actions. By playing the long game, you avoid reactive decisions driven by immediate emotions or the need for instant validation. Instead, you make calculated moves that, while seemingly minor, contribute to a gradual shift in power dynamics. This is a subtle yet profound aspect of dark psychology where the true impact is felt over years, not days. For instance, a politician might introduce policies that, while unpopular initially, lay the groundwork for future stability and prosperity. Their ability to withstand immediate public discontent, born from a strategic understanding of long-term goals and a certain contempt for ephemeral popularity, exemplifies this principle. Understanding this sustained approach to influence now leads us to confront the ethical implications of these principles, acknowledging the fine line between strategic awareness and morally dubious manipulation. As we delve deeper into Machiavelli's principles and strategic contempt, it is crucial to address the profound ethical quandaries inherent in such a Machiavellian mindset. These principles, rooted in dark psychology, can be misused for manipulation or exploitation. Our exploration is not an endorsement of unethical behavior, but an analytical examination of how psychological power operates, often subtly, in human interactions. The distinction between understanding and endorsing is paramount. Recognizing how strategic contempt works allows you to defend yourself against those who might wield it unethically. It empowers you to see through manipulative tactics, to identify when your emotions are being played upon, and to maintain your own emotional control in challenging situations. This involves a high degree of personal responsibility and introspection. Before applying any of these principles, one must ask, is this action in alignment with my values? Am I seeking to understand power dynamics for protection or for domination? Transparency about these limitations is essential for any ethical discussion of psychological influence. For instance, understanding how a seemingly indifferent attitude can disarm an aggressor is a defensive application. Using that same indifference to deliberately wound or diminish someone purely for personal gain crosses an ethical boundary. The principles themselves are tools. Their moral valence depends entirely on the intention and context of their user. With this ethical framework firmly established, we can now move towards practical steps for applying these concepts constructively and defensively in your own life, ensuring that knowledge translates into genuine empowerment. Applying the principles of strategic contempt responsibly begins with cultivating self-awareness and robust emotional control. Start by dispassionately observing your own emotional triggers and reactions. This internal work, akin to Stoicism, helps you understand where your vulnerabilities lie, preparing you to interpret and manage external influences without losing your psychological power. Next, practice objective observation of others. Instead of reacting instinctively, pause and analyze. What motivates them? What patterns of behavior do you notice when they are under pressure or seeking something? This exercise strengthens your ability to see beyond surface-level interactions and understand the underlying currents of human nature and dark psychology. Develop a conscious detachment from outcomes that are beyond your control. While you strive for your goals, accept that you cannot always dictate how others will behave. This acceptance reduces frustration and frees up mental energy, embodying a Machiavellian mindset focused on what can be influenced rather than what cannot. Consider how you can strategically project a calm, collected demeanor, especially in challenging situations. This isn't about suppressing genuine feelings, but about choosing not to display emotions that could be exploited. This enhances your reputation for composure and discernment, giving you an edge in social and professional environments. If you find this perspective challenging, consider exploring additional resources on cognitive behavioral therapy for emotional regulation or philosophical texts on Stoicism. These complementary fields offer frameworks for building mental resilience and self-mastery, reinforcing the ethical application of these powerful insights. We've journeyed through Machiavelli's world to understand strategic contempt, not as a mandate for manipulation, but as a framework for discerning the subtle mechanics of psychological power. By examining principles like detached observation, calculated indifference, and the long game of influence, you gain a deeper insight into human behavior and the critical role of emotional control in navigating complex interactions. Remember, the true value of exploring these concepts from dark psychology lies in empowerment through knowledge. It's about being aware of the forces at play, protecting yourself from exploitation, and making conscious choices that align with your own ethical compass. This understanding allows you to approach power dynamics with clarity and foresight, rather than being a passive participant. Results from applying these principles, especially emotional control and objective observation, are often gradual and cumulative. Don't expect immediate, dramatic shifts. Instead, focus on small, consistent improvements in your ability to analyze situations, manage your reactions, and strategically position yourself in various social contexts. This is a journey of continuous self-mastery. We invite you to reflect on how these principles resonate with your experiences. How have you seen strategic contempt, or a lack thereof, influence outcomes in your life or observations? Share your thoughts respectfully, contributing to a community dedicated to understanding psychology's deeper, often darker, facets for greater self-awareness. Understanding Machiavelli's ideas, including strategic contempt, is about cultivating mental fortitude and clarity. It is about equipping yourself with the tools to observe the world as it is, rather than as you wish it to be, empowering you to move through it with greater wisdom and unwavering emotional control, fostering a genuinely useful form of psychological power.